Hey, sixth graders, happy Friday. We are on the home stretch before a little bit of a break where hopefully some of you have, if nothing else, you have food to look forward to. You may not have a gathering, which is understandable considering their circumstances, but I hope you got something special in terms of a nice, relaxing, worry-free day. My plan is the only thing I'd ever want you to do is I just hope you pick up a book and read. And so actually, that's part of today's quote unquote work. So I'm going to try to keep this short because ultimately the directions are pretty self-explanatory. You're continuing with what we started with yesterday, which means you are working on the write like an author assignment, right? So you're mimicking, we talked about that. You're mimicking Paul Fleischman with a character that you create. Hopefully you walk through this whole process of, pre-writing. If you did that, then you have an understanding. If you didn't, it's going to be hard. So use the resources. The task is about getting your brain to sort of process this idea of taking information and spitting out something that is mimicking that you're using the skills that an author would use. And again, I would keep pointing out that like this really does matter because this is your story, right? What would you write? This is your voice. So ultimately, here's what I want to kind of just sort of check with here is where are you at, right? So if you think about right now, if you've done, you could still sort of do a checklist if you're done with your rough draft. Have you described enough of your character? I know what your character looks like? Do I know what your character is worried about? Do I know what your character is planning to do in the garden? Maybe they even carry it out. So maybe part of the story is what they do. Do I know what your character thinks about? Do I know what your character is feeling? These are things that, like, if you don't know what to add or you're lost, then throw these things in as you're writing, because most of these chapters in this book are characters' thoughts about things. Yes, they describe what they do, but a lot of it is what they're thinking. And here's a couple example of like some places to work on with your character. So just think of the word mom. All right, the word mom. We all know what a mom is. Not everyone has a mom, but what I think is important to know is that we all have our own way of saying mom. For instance, in my family, my daughters call my wife mama, not mommy, although you could. Here, let me add this. Mama is what my children call my wife, and my older daughter is starting to use oma, which is Korean for mom. All right. So here's the thing: is even the way that a character uses a simple word for mom tells us about the backstory. So, for instance, I turned to page 23 in the book, and this is Leona, and she says, Mama believed in doctors, but not Granny. So, those two words show you a lot about Leona. Those are the words she used to reference her family. And I would use different words. I would say, my mom believed in doctors, but not my grandma. And part of it is because I didn't have a special name for either of them, right? My mom and mom were the only two words I ever used. I've never said other words. And the same thing with grandma. I don't have another word for it. I never grew up with it. I never heard another word for it. However, let's take a look at many words you could use for mom. A character could say mama, ma. You hear that in the South a lot. Mims, a friend of mine, actually Mr. Cush, a teacher here, his daughters call their mom Mims. Mother, you could be all official, mother, or mommy for a little kid. Like these are things that are like these are just constant choices authors make. Is what word would a character use for mother? Same thing with grandma. So again, I always use the word grandma, but I heard my mom use the word gran to talk about her grandmother. My children call my wife's parents Nana and Grampy. So Nana is a very familiar word for a lot of people. Grammy. I've heard my stepfather, so my wife's dad. I've heard, or not stepfather, my father-in-law. I've heard my wife's dad use the word Grammy to talk about his wife, so my wife's mom's mom. So think about that, Graham. There's all these words. The word a person used for even something simple as a parent tells you where they come from. What do they call a mask? What do they call a water bottle? These are words choices that authors make, and I want you to start thinking about that. So anyway, that's one of the things I want to make sure that we kind of spend some time on. Like that's part of what your job is. So where you should be is definitely step 3, where you should be writing your rough draft today, and today should be the bulk of it. If you don't have it done today, you're going to be in trouble on Monday because we're going to try to wrap it up. So please, please, please put effort into that. So where you should be is keep writing until your full rough draft is finished. Do not multitask. So don't do phone, don't watch TV while you're doing it. Don't read a book while you're doing it. Just work until you're done. All right. Read it over before stepping away. So if you'll say you finish it in 20 minutes, you got your rough draft done. Read it over once. Read it from top to bottom. Then walk away, come back, and then start thinking about how to improve your story with word choice. What words can you change? What words can you add to make some sort of like better description or details added? Colors, sensation, and movements are ways to do that. How people move, describing that, what they see, what they feel. And then lastly, if at that point you've done steps 1 through 4 and you're like, I think something's missing, but I don't know, then seek advice from me. If you're with my class, they'll come in on my Zoom, or you could ask for a Zoom, or you could honestly do a Zoom check-in while you're at home, because my students here, the cohort B will be with me, but cohort A, you can jump on that same Zoom too, or message me in Schoology. So that's the deal. The rest of the day is pretty simple. So you're going to watch this video. I want you to finish the Write Like an Author assignment. And then after that, if you have time, I need to get some books in your hand for Thanksgiving. So this is Mrs. Martin's book talk for November. It's 18 minutes, but there's a load of books in there. The one thing I want you to do is watch that, and you can watch it in faster motion. So you could double it to 9 minutes. But I want you to write down at least one book that you may want to read in the reading section of your reader's notebook right there, right? Just something. And I want to see that down in the discussion. That's all you're posting today. You're not turning in your Write Like an Author assignment. We'll do that Monday together. Okay? All right. Hope you're all well. Hope you have an awesome weekend. Stay awesome. Stay positive. Stay strong. We'll one day at a time, and we'll get through this together. All right. Take care.